Hey guys, welcome back to the garden. It's been so long since I've made a video and I am just dying to tell you about everything that's going on out here. I know this is going to be a long video, but let's just say a lot is different, a lot is new, and I've got a lot of questions over the last couple of months about how things are doing, so I'll just jump right in and start telling you what's going on. So now I have two fountains in my garden. I'm kind of always working on them to get them to work most efficiently because they do run only on solar power. So here is this one here. This was a gift from my dad and it is running on solar power. Right now there is the solar panel up there at the top, and then the water actually feeds into here as of right now. At some point I might redo it so that the water will come out of the top like it's supposed to, but since I had to redo all of the, I guess, plumbing in here, I wasn't able to get the water to come out of the top, but hopefully in the future I will be able to do that. And then as sort of, I guess, a wide angle view, I've also got some moonflowers growing up around it in a solar light up top. That gets really, really beautiful at night, so I will make sure to post some pictures and videos of how it looks at night. This is my other fountain, which I was just working on, but I had to pause to do this video, so that's why it's a little crooked. But I do have a new solar pump on it that I was just installing here, but usually it does work pretty well. I just wanted a more powerful pump that could pump a little bit more water, and as you can see, it is requiring a little bit more sunlight, so it's not really pushing out water yet. So I do have to tinker with it a little bit more to get that working. So that is non-plant stuff. Let's jump in and we'll talk about some plant stuff. So here's my first bed. This is one that, if you remember from a couple of months ago, the javelina went through it. They had actually gone through it a couple of times, and then fortunately, finally, we got a more substantial fencing system that so far has kept the javelina out. Tim welded this for me, and then we did the wire around it. So as of right now, it is recovering. Things, most things are coming back. Some things didn't make it, and then I've got some new things growing in here. This is mostly peppers in here. There is some chives, lemon balm, thyme, and basil as well, but then some peppers, and then this is some sort of zucchini. I didn't label it, but I believe it is a round zucchini. And then I did some sunflowers in here to put up some additional shade, and then this is the back side of that trellis arch that has the moonflowers growing on it. So I've been training it up this trellis so far this year. Right now it just grows out of the side over there, but I've also got another one that's coming up over the other side. So by the end of this year, it should, or the end of this season, I should really say, it should be even. So there's two separate plants. And then I also have a cardinal climber hiding in here. I'm not sure why it's not super productive, but I did just recently fertilize it. So hopefully that will help my cause. And I think at this time of the day, most of them have kind of died off, but you can see that there is the cardinal climber. Here is the second bed. This one, because there's no fencing around it, just gets repeatedly pummeled by the rabbits and whatever else comes out here at nighttime. But as you can see, they're not interested in the oregano. I'm like, where's my finger? I want to point to things. Okay. They're not interested in the oregano. They're not interested in this pineapple mint or the rosemary. And then we've got regular mint. And then I did actually put some baskets over some things to kind of give them a chance. But other than that, I'm actually not really planting out this bed until we get fencing around it, because otherwise it's just a waste of time and they're going to come eat everything really quickly. This bed has not really been productive for me in quite a while. I think it's because the moonflowers are just, or the moonflower really is just one plant. It's really, really taking over this entire bed, I imagine. There is some other things in here though. These are vinca flowers. I'll move that there. Those are vincas. There is a tomatillo down there. pray for that tomatillo. A little bit of leftover lemon basil, I guess, from a couple of years ago. Some little cucumber under that basket that is like super struggling. This is the main place that I get my basil from. And then sage. I do have a ton of sage throughout my garden that I really like. I think it just actually looks really pretty, and it did bloom a couple of weeks ago, and those blooms were super pretty. They were like light purple, and they were really something to look at. And then I have this sunflower here, which is super close to opening up. Oh wait, it looks like, yeah, this is probably one of those chocolate cherry sunflowers. So hopefully this one will open up here tomorrow all the way. Right now it's just sort of open. Since we're over here, we'll talk about my banana tree. It's, you know, like most trees, it is somewhat of an investment. I've had a really big problem keeping the rabbits away from it, so that's why it's all kind of got the wire around it and everything. And I'm not watering it too much because I do want it to establish some deep roots. So I probably only water it about every 2 weeks at this point. But when I do water it, I water it for a very, very, very long time on a slight trickle. I could talk a little bit more about watering fruit trees at some point in the future, but there's where that one is. And then this is my pomegranate tree, one of my 2 pomegranate trees. I believe that I've had this one for maybe a year and a half now. It's kind of hard to remember, but it looks like it does have, it blossomed a little while ago, and it looks like it does have 2 pomegranates. All right, we're back. The battery died. So anyway, I guess there's 3 pomegranates, maybe even 4. So I do have to protect these in some way so that they don't get eaten, but this will be the first year that I do have pomegranates on this tree. Oh, so that one, something happened to it. So I guess 2 was the correct number. Sorry if a lot of this hasn't been in focus. I'm kind of struggling with my camera right now. But yep, so there's a couple here. I'm gonna have to protect them in some way to make sure that they don't get eaten. But other than that, we're off to a good start. These are the only pomegranate that I've had so far. And then when we check the other tree, we'll see if there's any over there. All right, so now we're getting into some of my more productive garden beds. Let's see here. This here is, I stopped labeling the zucchini. I just kind of was putting zucchini seeds in everywhere that I could because it is one of my favorite vegetables, and I don't think I got very many last year. So this one doesn't have a ton of room. It is kind of just in a corner here doing the best it can, but it is gonna start putting on some zucchini soon. I can see there's little tiny ones on there that haven't opened their flower yet. There is also a sunflower in here as well that will hopefully provide some nice shade because this bed gets a ton of western sun when it gets to the heat of the summer. So I'm hoping this provides at least some amount of shade for this particular bed. I do have some beans growing up here. This one has made it pretty high up so far. It's all the way up here, so about like to my shoulder level. And again, I didn't do very much labeling around the garden this year. I was just kind of throwing things in everywhere that I could. This is a moonflower that's coming up from the other side. And I believe this is the sunset runner bean. I have noticed that those leaves are a little bit lighter green, so that is the sunset runner bean. There's another zucchini plant over there, which I'll kind of point out when we get over there. And then a tomato plant that I had actually started in my laundry room like, a really long time ago, maybe at the end of last summer. And then I planted it in the ground. And once it got established, it really took off. And then there is a pepper plant hiding behind there too. It's not getting much sun, so it is kind of struggling. Here is the back side of my moonflower arch that also has some beans mixed in there as well. It's this was the first area that I really had moonflowers growing, and it's become a really wonderful source of shade for the garden just to kind of get some shadier areas in here for the summertime. This moonflower plant is now well over a year old, and since we don't experience a hard frost, it seems like it's going to just keep going. I've completely lost control of it. It is like a giant mound, and as you can see at the top, it is just doing the most to try to get some sun. And since I have one growing up on the other side there too, it's gonna get super duper out of control this summer, but should be interesting to see how it does, and hopefully continue to provide a lot of shade for my garden. And then here we are on the side of this bed. So I did plant a ton of flowers this year. So I have some zinnias coming in now. I believe there is some sort of cucumber plant hiding in here somewhere. I don't know what sort of plant it is. I said I didn't label. This is my Scotch bonnet. So finally, after years and years, I did get a Scotch bonnet going. This is the first pepper. It's green now, so we're waiting for it to ripen. But the plant itself is doing quite well. In fact, I might cut back this branch on the tomato to give it a better chance because it looks like it's kind of encroaching on it. But I'm super excited about that. I had run out of seeds, so it's definitely a very good thing to be able to have some finally without having to buy more seeds, which I have definitely had to do in the past with things I wanted to grow. This is either a marigold or, I planted a lot of things here, so I'm not too sure. This is a volunteer tomato. And then over here I do have some beans and then another cardinal climber. And then this tomato plant. So I do not know what sort of tomato plant it is, but I have figured out that it is a larger tomato. There are a couple of them on here, and it did take a really long time to start setting fruit. So I'm not, again, positive what sort of tomato plant this is. My best guess is it might be my Aunt Ruby's German green tomato. But again, I'm not entirely sure. I do have this little cucumber plant, which I think is an Armenian cucumber. I grew a ton of those last year to the point where I was completely sick of them. But again, I just plant anything, see what it'll grow. And I was able to feed a lot of those to the rabbits toward the end of the year, which was kind of nice because then they had something to eat. Here's the pepper plant I mentioned earlier. I also don't know what sort of pepper this is, but as you can see, it's been completely crowded out by the tomato plant. All right, my camera overheated, so we're just gonna have to finish this on iPhone. It is an even 100 degrees out right now, so it is very hot. It's like my whole body is crying. So there was a tomatillo in here, but it got shaded out and it died. And then there is some other sort of cucumber thing growing in here. And then even though this zucchini is also extremely cramped, it does seem to be actually producing zucchini in there, which is pretty cool. So as you can see, there's that one which might not have got pollinated, and then there's a couple more there, and there's probably a quail nest in here too. Anyway, now over to this bed. It is warm. It's mostly little cherry tomatoes in here at this point as far as like what we're actually eating. There is this nice little basil plant that puts out a lot of basil off to the side out here. This is a combination again of moonflowers and runner beans. It is something that I have to come and weave these through all the time. It's actually a very meditative activity, and it is pretty necessary, believe it or not. Because a couple of years I didn't. I thought, oh, nature will just take care of it, and then it turned into a total mess. So they are runner beans and moonflowers in here. This side is now starting to rival the other side as far as giving me a nice shady area in my garden. Ooh, this sunflower got really tall on me. I did not even notice this one was that big. So as you can see, there's no head on it yet. But I mean, I don't even know how tall this might be. I stink at guesstimating, but it's pretty tall. I mean, can you see me? Down here, there's some kind of watermelon, some beans. Here is that morning glory feather mix with these like feathery sort of leaves. There is some sort of zucchini down there. I believe a bottle gourd is coming in down there. And then another tomato plant. And I'll skip around to that side and we can look at those plants a little bit more. So here I have another moonflower vine, another bean thing. That looks like another melon. Again, I'm not sure what kind of tomato this is, but if we look here, we can see there is one at least. So I'm curious to see how those turn out, if they turn red. And then here's one of my grapevine. This is new this year. I am hopeful that this grapevine will grow very large, crawl up this trellis, and then over to my gazebo. That's the hope. I do believe that that will happen. Down here, oh boy, some other sort of, oh, this might be like a spaghetti squash or something. Let's see. It hasn't put on any female fruits yet, so I can't tell, but it'll be a mystery. Another zinnia, another flower. I forget what that one's called. Some of my larkspur are still blooming in here. That's what the purple there is. And then moonflowers, larkspur, beans, and a couple other things growing up this trellis here. As you can see, it's the end of the day and it's pretty hot, so these look a little bit floppy and rough, but as soon as it cools down, they'll kind of come back to life. And then these are what the seeds of the larkspur look like. So I have been spreading them around as much as possible when they're dry. So there's a lot here. About every day I come out and spread them. And then these little tomatoes, these are wonderful. I don't think I've talked about these tomatoes before. I've grown a variety of these smaller tomatoes over the years, and this one has just been the most popular at our house. It's called a peace vine cherry tomato. It has reseeded very readily. I have it in a couple spots throughout the garden, and it is pretty tasty. So no complaints, would definitely recommend, especially in this hotter climate. It seems to do extremely well, to the point where I actually just start like ripping parts of the plant out because I have more than we can really eat. And now this bed, moments ago, there was a quail in here doing quail things. I hope it didn't lay any eggs, but this has been a mostly kind of flowers, well, not mostly flowers, but it has been like quite a bit of flowers so far. There is some lettuce that has gone to seed, so I'll be spreading these lettuce seeds around so that we can get a good crop of lettuce come next year. There is the Gaillardia, I think is how you say it, the Indian blanket flower. I did try radishes close to the end of the season, so a lot of the radishes went to seed, which is fine because I'm actually just gonna let the seeds drop where they may, and then when it cools off, those radishes will start just growing back on their own. There is a Thai basil hiding in there, not something I've made a ton of use of, and I have spread the seeds around and they haven't done much, which is disappointing, but you know, it is what it is. The bees have definitely enjoyed it. And then a new flower, I literally don't even know what this flower is. I just am noticing it right now. Something bluish purple, super pretty. So I'll have to go look up what that is because I don't know what sort of flower that is. Again, lots of sunflowers. That was my first chocolate cherry sunflower of the year. As you can see, it's kind of almost completed its life cycle, I guess you could say. So the birds should show up and eat the seeds soon, which is the main reason that I grow as many sunflowers as I do. Is I love to have the birds visit the garden and eat the seeds. So they've been bird dogging these flowers. Actually, when I come out here, they're like always looking to see if the seeds are ready. So they'll be out to eat some of these seeds here probably this week, actually. So but this flower was super duper pretty when it first bloomed. I'll put some pictures up on the screen, and I do have them elsewhere in the garden, so I'll be able to enjoy them all summer. But it looks like this one's pretty much done and it's time for the birds to move in. This one here has not started blooming yet, but it's quite tall and it will soon. This one, tons and tons of beautiful blooms. I've been bringing these in the house, giving them to my neighbors. They have made just beautiful, beautiful cut flowers. Obviously, you can see there's a lot of insects really enjoying them. Here I have one of those birdhouse gourds plants growing here. It's growing up over this arch, and it looks like it's trying to climb up a sunflower too. I've got some more sunflowers here that haven't bloomed yet, so those will be quite pretty. I have some sort of pepper down here. I do not remember what sort of pepper that is. No big deal. I have a cucumber in here. And this has produced a couple of cucumbers for us so far, and they've been very good. It is the Dar cucumber. I got the seeds from where else? rareseeds.com. And then there's some other sort of cucumber here as well, which I don't know what kind it is. But like I said, the quail trampled through here today. I have had quail actually lay eggs and make nests in my garden beds before. I love nature and everything, but I just really don't want them doing that because it's super destructive. But I have enough to share, and I just have to remind myself of that. But anyway, doesn't look like they made a nest in here, at least not that I could tell. And then up here, again, more beans, more runner beans coming up this way. I actually heard somewhere that they are perennial. If that's true, that would be really, really neat, but I'm not sure if that's true. And even though I have tons of these growing, they are not setting any fruit at all, and they have been getting pollinated. So I'm not sure what the reason for that is. It is a little bit troubling. I'm not sure if it's because it might be too hot, but even when it was cooler, they weren't setting any fruit either. So I just really don't know what to think about that. But they are thriving. They're providing quite a bit of shade, as you can see here on this arch, you know, and on the other two that we already looked at. So who knows? Maybe we'll get a ton of beans this year. I really hope so. I do really like beans, and they're a great pantry item. But so far, not very productive. If you can see, here's where all the flowers were. There's where more flowers were. More flowers, no bean pods. 0 bean pods, but you know, some nice cute little flowers. So I don't know. And here are my two 11-foot by 4-foot beds. The javelina actually broke into this bed not that long ago. I didn't post it on my channel, but they flattened it. So it took me a really long time to recuperate this bed. But as you can see, it's pretty much filled all the way back out again. There's a lot of great things growing in here. I do have some different basils. I thought these were vincas, but I found out recently they might be called something else. Some different kind of yellow flowers. Sage, again, that has got blossoms on it that are so pretty. Another sunflower. Carrots. Zinnia, basil, cucumbers, climbing flowers. That's my second Brad's Atomic Grape tomato plant, but the birds just kind of eat all of them on that plant, so I let them because I have my own. This is one that I'm particularly proud of. It's a Korean pepper plant. I grew it from seed. I got the seeds on Etsy. When the javelina came through this bed, I thought they completely destroyed this pepper plant, but they didn't. I have got quite a few peppers on it. It's been a really extremely productive plant. If you're interested in growing this, or you want to know where I got the seeds from, oh, there's one. Okay. My neighbor absolutely loves these too. So yeah, there's one here. It is, I don't know the technical name of it, but it's a Korean pepper plant for what it's worth. But anyway, yeah, it's extremely productive. As you can see, there's tons of flowers on it. And then if you look closely, there are lots of peppers on it as well. So I definitely would recommend this one. And on the low, if you want some seeds, send me a message. I'll get you some seeds. More sunflowers. There is another zucchini in there. That one's actually probably ready to eat. Raspberries, carrots, tomatoes, cucumbers, another pepper plant, some more climbing flowers, and more climbing flowers. Things. Looks like there's some volunteer tomatoes. I think this is a radish. I might try to pull that later today. Climbing flowers, beans, oregano, climbing beans, and then this is also the bottle gourd vine. It's been doing really great so far this year. It's already made it to the top of the trellis, and it's pretty early in this season, so that one's doing extremely well. More sunflowers. These ones are just getting to open, and oh my god, I mean, this one, I mean, come on, like, this is so beautiful. These are absolutely beautiful. It's hard to walk away from them, quite honestly. You just want to look at them all day, and the bees spend the whole day in there. I just can't get myself away from them sometimes. And then there's another one, and as you can see, it's got a couple of heads on it. It's like an overachiever. But look, there's already a bee in there, and this thing ain't even open. They love it. They love it. So there's those sunflowers that have not opened yet. And then that one there that looks a little dead, that was a lemon queen. It was beautiful. It's not anymore. And so hopefully the birds show up soon and start eating those seeds, because it's kind of like a little bit of a sore thumb to me at this point, but I'll give them their time. Here we go. This is one of my new tree additions. This is an olive tree. It's an Arbequina olive. I did get it from Seamus O'Leary's, which is around the corner from our house here. It seems to be doing all right. I don't water it a lot on purpose. I'm trying to get it to set some good roots down, but I am pleased with it so far. And when I do water it, it will put on a lot of new growth right away. So I think it'll do fine this summer, and I think it'll definitely be a long-term or, you know, lifetime generational contribution to the garden. Olive trees can be thousands of years old. So again, just an investment. If I don't get any olives for a couple of years, that'll be just fine. It's really something that I'm growing for the long term. All right, beans, peppers, kale, zinnias, oregano. There is some little tiny pepper hiding in there. Clover, I didn't talk about it yet, but I've planted a ton of clover throughout my garden now, so that it covers the soil and gives us some additional nitrogen. I'm not, jury's still out on whether I would recommend that or do it again, but so far so good. Looks like my first zinnia is finally about to open after all the ones I've planted. None of them are really opening yet, so that would definitely be cool to see them start opening here soon. And now we're just on the back side of that bed that we had already talked about, so we'll switch over here. So this is like my ladybug nursery. Isn't it wonderful? It was the cilantro, and then when the cilantro died off, they all kind of moved over here to this dill plant. But there is just tons of ladybugs on here and all different points in the ladybug life cycle. So that's been wonderful to watch and just kind of see all of the different transformations that the ladybugs go in before they reach maturity. I'm not a scientist or an entomologist or anything like that, but it has been absolutely joyous to just watch all of these ladybugs go from being a tiny little larva to like a full-grown ladybug. And this is coated in aphids. That's what the kind of weird look is to it. But the aphids are only here, and they are nowhere else in my garden, and I'm hoping the ladybugs stick around. In the past they haven't, but I'm hopeful for this year. Looks like one of my gladiolas is about to open up. That's what's happening here. Another chocolate cherry sunflower, putting on some super beautiful blooms, just absolutely showing off this year. Another gargantuan sunflower that hasn't opened yet. We've got some more squash, some more carrots, dill, cucumbers, an old cabbage plant, sage, another cucumber, some Brussels sprouts that I recently gave up on, clover, cucumbers, more sunflowers. No such thing as too many, especially with all the shade that they provide. Clover, this I thought it was a weed, but I was like, well, we'll let it go. And I think it's called bee balm. I could be wrong. I had looked it up, but I'm pretty sure it's called bee balm. So that's been, I mean, what a different look that is. I've never seen anything like that before, so I'm letting that one go. Very, very, very pretty. Lettuce that has gone to seed, again, I'll use that opportunity to spread all of that seed around to get a good crop of lettuce for us next year. The remnants of my calendula, those were unreal this year. The calendula were unreal. I'll post some pictures so that you can see what they looked like. Mint, this is an area where the mint has taken over. My loofah plant here. Some other kind of things are just hiding out. I've been pulling out the mint to give everything a little bit more breathing room. So some things are kind of filling in here, but the cool thing is it has provided some sort of nice shade, and it's brought just a little bit more green to the garden, and I've been able to transplant it elsewhere in the garden to kind of fill it out a little bit more. And coming around the back side of this bed, I've got some different things that I put down seeds for that are coming in. One more loofah. My habanada pepper is there-ish behind some other things. So as soon as this lettuce is done putting on seeds and I cut that out, the pepper will get some more sunshine, and that should be good. And then here's the back side of this bed. I think we already talked about most of this stuff here. Here's my other pomegranate tree. I don't think this one put on any fruit this year, unless, ooh, this one's got prickers. Okay, didn't know that. Yeah, it doesn't look like any pomegranate are here, and this one does have thorns. That's so funny, I didn't know that. And the last couple of things for today. Here is my star fruit tree. It's been here less than a year, so I'm going easy on it, trying to take the best care of it that I possibly can. Don't tell the other fruit trees, but this is my favorite fruit tree. I just absolutely cannot wait until I get star fruit off of this tree. We are going to have to provide a lot more protection to it than most of the other trees that I have, but I think it'll be well worth it, and I just cannot wait to get some fruit from this tree. And here's the view of the garden from the western side looking to the east. I've got this lovely gazebo, which hopefully those grapes and the moonflowers will grow on in the future. Just exquisite sunflowers everywhere that you look, things growing up all of these arches, giving us some nice shade. Vegetables, herbs, flowers, berries, fruits, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, everything I can possibly grow. I put it in the ground and just see what can happen. And that's what I always say, just keep growing.